What's up guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about whether or not you need an audio interface to make beats. Welcome back guys, hopefully all of you have been having a great week so far. Now, today's video is going to be a little bit more educational than usual, and that's because today we're covering one of the biggest questions that producers have when they start out, and one that I know that I had when I started out, and that is, do you need an audio interface to make beats? Now, as fun as it is to make music, the world of audio can also be a very confusing one. So, today I want to answer this question in hopes of helping out anybody who might just be stepping into the world of music production for the first time, or anybody who knows a little bit about this already but just wants more information. Now, to do this, I'm going to be dividing up the video into 3 parts. In the first section, we'll cover what is an audio interface and what does it do. In the second part, I'll talk about some common misconceptions regarding audio interfaces, and then I'll finish the whole thing off by giving you guys my personal thoughts and recommendations. Okay, so what is an audio interface and what does it do? In the most basic terms, an audio interface is simply a device that is used to bridge the analog and the digital worlds of audio. Back in the day, and I speak like I lived through that, I didn't, but back in the day, this wasn't that much of a problem because audio was captured and stored in reel-to-reel analog tape. But with the rise of the digital era, a need for proper conversion arose. Now, real quick, it is also important to note here that audio interfaces are also sometimes referred to as sound cards. Now, we're going to be talking about these in detail a little bit further on, but essentially the functions of an audio interface are 5. They convert audio from analog to digital. They convert audio from digital to analog. They allow you to record and capture external sources. They reduce latency latency and they improve the playback quality of your audio. Let's start with the digital to analog conversion. Most forms of technology today include some sort of built-in sound card, and it is because of these integrated sound cards that we're able to listen to music or listen to the audio from a video, for example. Audio that is played through a computer system is digital, meaning that it's a bunch of ones and zeros, but thanks to the digital to analog converters of your phone or computer's internal sound card, they get converted back to analog and reproduced as audible sounds that we get to hear coming out of the speakers. That is digital to analog conversion. It works almost the same way going the other way around, going from analog to digital, and this can even be grouped with the ability to capture and record external sources because these two work together. If you take out your phone right now and open up whatever application you use to record voice memos and you record your voice, you are essentially using the analog to digital converters in your phone's internal sound card to carry out this process and record your voice. That, in essence, is analog to digital conversion. Next, we have latency. Now, latency can be described as the delay time, usually measured in milliseconds, that it takes a signal to enter a computer system and come back out as audible sound. Now, latency is a bit more complicated because there's a lot more factors that affect it, including the quality of the audio drivers and converters in your audio interface, the RAM and overall power of your computer, the buffer size and sample rate of your session, the connection type of your audio interface, and even plugins. To try to keep it simple though, just remember that an audio interface with better audio drivers and converters will in fact reduce your latency to a degree. Now, we'll talk about latency a little bit more later on, but for now, just keep this in mind. Lastly, we have improved audio. Now, I won't get too technical about this because this can easily be a rabbit hole, but essentially the argument is that by using better quality digital to analog converters that are better equipped to decode your music from the ones and zeros in your computer and convert that back to analog, you're also increasing the playback quality of that audio, which should ultimately result in clearer audio playback and allow you to make better decisions. This is also the reason why some people decide to buy dedicated and external converters, but like I said, that's a debate for a different video. So now that you know a little bit more about audio interfaces, you might be asking yourself, Well, then why do I need to buy a professional external audio interface if my computer already has one? The reasons why you might want to buy an external audio interface are the following, and in this specific order. Number one is if you want to record external sources at a much higher quality. We discussed earlier how you can already record things through your computer, but the fact of the matter is that that won't be at the best possible quality. A condenser microphone, for example, which is a microphone that is specifically designed to capture professional audio, will allow you to record voices or instruments at a much higher resolution than your computer, but to do so you need a way to plug it in. Most professional microphones plug in through an XLR connection, which most consumer grade computers simply just don't have. On top of that, a condenser microphone also requires an additional 48 volts of power to function, which is also provided by a professional audio interface. In any case, an audio interface will have these XLR connections and provide you with the additional power, all which are required to use professional microphones. I will note here that there are microphones that you can plug in directly into your computer via USB and use that alongside the internal sound card of your computer, and that's a debate for a different video, but personally I prefer the XLR connection. The second reason why you might want to buy an external audio interface is if you want to reduce latency. Now, I don't know how many of you record a voice, but if you do, then you might be familiar with a scenario where you set up the talent, and as they start to talk into the microphone, they also start to hear themselves twice, kind of like an echo. This is because the latency is too high. There is an audible delay from the time they say something into the microphone to the time it takes for that signal to go into the computer and come back out into their ears. This can also happen with instruments that you plug in and record, like pianos or guitar. If the latency is too high, you might hear some audible delay from the time you strike the keys on the piano to the time it takes for it to go through the computer and back out of your speakers or headphones. Now, earlier we mentioned that the quality of the audio drivers and converters in an audio interface affect latency, and although these two things definitely play a part, I'm not going to be talking too much about them here. The reason for this is because, as we also mentioned earlier, these two things are highly dependent on other factors like the power of your computer or what you're doing in a session, so really, this comes down to a case-by-case scenario. Now, although we do get lower latency from better drivers and converters, to me, the biggest reason to buy an external audio interface when it comes to latency is to take advantage of what some companies call zero latency monitoring or direct monitoring. Basically, these type of interfaces allow you to hear the signal immediately as opposed to having you wait for it to be sent through the computer, processed, and sent back. Being able to hear the signal immediately ultimately provides for a better experience whenever you're playing something or recording something, and that's all because of the zero latency or ultra low latency technology from those interfaces. The interesting thing about this, though, is that there are now DAWs, music softwares, like the one that I use, Studio One, that are implementing this zero latency technology within their software. The third reason why you might want to buy an external audio interface, as mentioned before, is because you want to improve the quality of your digital to analog converters in hopes of improving the playback quality of your audio. So again, whenever it comes to improving your audio, the reasons why you buy an external audio interface are because you want to be able to record external sources with better quality through better gear, because you want to reduce latency, and because you want to improve playback quality. Now, I have to stop here real quick because I know someone's going to mention it. One reason that might prompt you to buy an external audio interface outside of all of this is if you want to plug in studio monitors. Headphones you can kind of get away with because most of them have that 3.5mm jack connection that you can plug in straight into your computer if you need to, but if you want to plug in studio speakers, studio monitors, they have a different connection that you will need an audio interface for, so just keep that in mind. So one of the most common misconceptions when it comes to audio interfaces in the beat making community is that they will automatically improve the quality of your beats. Now, this is somewhat factual, but mostly untrue, so let's talk about it. If by improve, we mean that we now have the ability to capture and record external audio at a much higher quality, and then that audio gets used in our beats, then yeah, that's improvement. If by improve, we mean that we now have to deal with less latency times, which ultimately results in us being able to play our instruments and VSTs without the distraction from delay, then yeah, that's improvement. Lastly, if by improve, we mean that we now have better audio playback to make more purposeful mixing and production decisions, then yes, that's also improvement. But what an audio interface will not do is automatically improve the quality of your beats simply by plugging plugging it in and calling it a day. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think the idea of automatic improvement stems from the misunderstanding of what a digital to analog converter does. A lot of people, I think, understand that when working with digital audio, conversion needs to happen, but I feel like too many believe that that conversion, that digital to analog conversion, also affects the quality at which your music is exported as. The reality is that digital to analog conversion only affects playback. That is to say, the action of playing a piece of audio either live or pre-recorded and having that be spat back out through your speakers or your headphones. The actual bouncing, printing, exporting, or whatever you want to call it, that is exclusively handled by your computer. In other words, it has nothing to do with your audio interface. So, do you need an audio interface to make beats? The short answer to this is no. If you are someone who is just using software instruments, and especially if you're just clicking your notes in and not using a MIDI controller, if you don't care about recording any external sources, if you are okay with using headphones or your computer speakers and not studio monitors, and you are okay with the native latency of your computer, then you're good to go. I would even go as far as saying that if you're just starting out, your ears are probably not trained enough yet to even hear any audible differences from playback quality that come from better converters either. The great news about this is that most computers nowadays are starting to get better and better internal sound cards, and there's even audio drivers that have been developed to help you get better latency and quality. In the PC world, I know you guys have this audio driver called ASIO for All, which was developed by the company Steinberg to help you get better results. This audio driver acts as a sort of bridge between your DAW and your computer's internal sound card to help you get better latency and high fidelity audio. The best part about that is that this driver is completely free to download. In the Apple world, those computers get shipped with their own integrated audio protocols which handle all that from the inside, so again, we don't have to worry about that either. So again, if you're just using software instruments, you don't plan to record anything external, you are okay with not using studio speakers, at least for now, and you are satisfied with the native latency of your computer, then you don't need an audio interface. Now, as far as my personal recommendations go, I would say if you are someone who wants to record external sources and you want to do it at better quality, then you kind of need it. If you don't plan on recording anything external and you just want to make beats with your internal software, then I would say still buy one, but only if you can afford it. The reason for this is that just because you don't want to record anything right now doesn't mean you're not going to want to do it later on. And trust me, there is something very special about making beats using live instrumentation and vocal chops. The good news about this is that most audio recording technology has become relatively inexpensive, and as of right now, you can get a good quality audio interface for around $100. So again, if you can afford to add this to your music budget, then I say go ahead and get one, because maybe later on you will want to record something, and even if you don't, you can still enjoy the lower latency and better audio playback right now. On top of that, if you do get one now, you'll be sort of future-proofing your studio, because if you do decide to get studio speakers later on, then you'll have a way to plug those in. If you cannot afford to add that to your music budget, and trust me, I get it, $100 is still a lot of money, then I would say hold off. Instead, use that money to buy a digital audio workstation if you haven't bought it already, or maybe use it to buy a pair of headphones. But that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Now, I do apologize if this video turned out to be a little bit longer than usual, but I know what it's like to have a passion and burning questions and no one there to answer them for you. That's one of the bigger reasons why I started this YouTube channel, so hopefully this video helps some of you out. Now, there will be some applicable links for today's topic down below, so check those out. But as always, like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you're not already, but I will see you guys on the next one.